Manager said, "Women don't belong in the boardroom." 6 months later, I took his seat. I never thought the man I respected most would be the one to destroy me. The conference room fell silent when Marcus Hayes stood up, pointed directly at me, and said those words. "Women don't belong in the boardroom, Amara. They belong in supportive roles." 23 executives watched as I sat frozen, my quarterly report still glowing on the projector behind me. I had spent 6 weeks preparing that presentation, analyzing market trends, proposing expansion strategies that could save our struggling retail division. Marcus didn't even glance at my data. He just smiled that cold, practiced smile, and continued. "Your ideas are cute, but let's leave strategy to those who understand it." The room remained deathly quiet. No one defended me. Not even Chioma, my supposed mentor, who suddenly found her phone fascinating. I gathered my papers with shaking hands, walked out with whatever dignity I had left, and locked myself in the bathroom. That's when I made my decision. I had joined Zenith Retail Group 3 years earlier, fresh from business school, eager and idealistic. Marcus Hayes was the chief operating officer then, a man everyone admired for turning around failing companies. He personally recruited me, promised me growth, called me the future of this company. I believed him completely. I worked 16-hour days, skipped family gatherings, missed my best friend's wedding because Marcus needed a report finished. Every sacrifice felt worth it when he praised my work, when he told the board I was one to watch. Now, staring at my reflection in that bathroom mirror, mascara running down my cheeks, I realized something terrible. Marcus never saw me as the future. He saw me as convenient, disposable, useful only until I started threatening his position. The bathroom door opened. Chioma walked in, guilt written across her face. "Amara, listen," Chioma began, but I cut her off. "You said nothing. You sat there and watched him humiliate me." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "Marcus is CEO now. I have 2 kids in private school and a mortgage. I can't afford to make enemies." I understood her fear, but understanding didn't make the betrayal hurt less. She left without another word, and I stayed there, letting cold water run over my wrists, trying to calm the rage building inside me. My phone buzzed. An email from HR. "Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Please confirm attendance." My stomach dropped. They were going to fire me. After 3 years of excellence, of sacrifices, of building campaigns that increased our revenue by 37%, they would erase me like I never existed. But they didn't know something crucial about me. They didn't know who I really was. That night, I sat in my apartment surrounded by documents my father left me. Jonathan Okafor had been brilliant, building Titan Holdings from nothing into a conglomerate worth hundreds of millions. When he died 5 years ago, he left everything to me, his only child. But there was a condition in his will. "Let them underestimate you, Amara. Learn their games first. Strike only when you're ready." So I worked regular jobs, lived modestly, and watched. I learned how companies operated, how executives maneuvered, how power really worked. Zenith Retail Group was struggling badly. Their stock had dropped 40% in 2 years. They needed a miracle or a buyer. I owned Titan Holdings. I could buy Zenith tomorrow if I wanted. Instead, I had been documenting everything, waiting for the right moment. Marcus Hayes had just given it to me. The HR meeting was exactly what I expected. Marcus sat at the head of the table, fake sympathy plastered on his face. "Amara, you're talented, but you're not quite the right fit for our evolving structure." Translation: I scared him by being competent. They offered me 3 months severance if I signed an NDA and left quietly. "Think about it over the weekend," the HR director said, sliding papers across the table. I picked them up slowly, reading every word while they watched me. Marcus checked his watch impatiently. Finally, I looked up and smiled. "I'll have my lawyer review these. You'll hear from me Monday." Marcus's expression darkened. "This is a generous offer, Amara. I wouldn't recommend playing hardball." I stood, smoothed my skirt, and walked out. Behind me, I heard him mutter something crude. Perfect. His arrogance would be his downfall. I spent that weekend making calls. First, to my family lawyer, Uncle Tund, who had handled my father's estate. They offered you severance to stay quiet? He laughed. Amara, you could buy that entire company with your lunch money. Next, I called Yemi, my father's former CFO, who now ran Titan Holdings operations. How quickly can we prepare a buyout offer for Zenith Retail Group? There was a long pause. You're serious? After what they did to you? Especially because of what they did to me. We worked through the night, pulling financial records, analyzing Zenith's debts, identifying their vulnerable points. By Sunday evening, I had a complete picture. Zenith was drowning. Their largest creditor was threatening to call in loans. Marcus had been hiding the severity from the board, gambling everything on a new investor who kept delaying. That investor? They were about to disappear. Because I was going to make them an offer they couldn't refuse. Monday morning, I walked into Zenith wearing my father's watch and my mother's pearl earrings. Armor. Marcus stood in the lobby talking to some junior executives, laughing loudly at his own joke. He spotted me, and his smile turned nasty. Amara, come to sign your paperwork. Everyone turned to watch. I walked straight to him, close enough that he had to step back. Actually, Marcus, I came to inform you that you'll be receiving a formal buyout proposal this afternoon. Titan Holdings is acquiring Zenith Retail Group. The lobby went silent. Marcus's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, then anger. Titan Holdings? That's impossible. We're in advanced talks with them about a partnership, but there's no acquisition discussion. I smiled sweetly. Check your email. The offer's already been sent to your board. His hand went to his phone. I watched the exact moment he found the message. His face drained of color. The next 3 days were chaos. Zenith's board called emergency meetings. Marcus tried desperately to position himself as indispensable, the only one who could save the company from this hostile takeover. But the board knew the truth. They were bankrupt without this buyout. Titan Holdings was offering to clear their debts, keep most employees, and inject fresh capital. The only condition? Complete leadership restructuring. Marcus would be out. He knew it too. On Wednesday, he cornered me in the parking garage. What game are you playing? He hissed, grabbing my arm. I looked at his hand until he released me. No game, Marcus. Just business. You don't have this kind of power. Who are you really? I had waited 3 years to answer that question. Jonathan Okafor was my father. Titan Holdings is mine. It always has been. His eyes widened in genuine shock. That's impossible. You're just some junior executive who you underestimated. If you're captivated by how this is unfolding, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. The board accepted Titan's offer on Thursday. Marcus tried fighting it, threatening lawsuits, calling in favors, but he had no leverage. By Friday afternoon, the deal was structured. Zenith Retail Group would become a subsidiary of Titan Holdings. Current leadership would be transitioned out over the next month. I requested a board meeting for Monday to introduce the new management structure. Marcus spent the weekend calling everyone he knew, trying to build opposition. He told people I was vindictive, unstable, dangerous. Some believed him. Most didn't care. They just wanted to keep their jobs. On Sunday night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. You think you've won? Marcus's voice was barely controlled rage. You have no idea what you're doing. I built this company. I made it what it is. You mean you ran it into the ground while blaming everyone else? Silence. Then he hung up. Monday's board meeting was the longest 2 hours of my life. I stood before 15 executives, some who had watched Marcus humiliate me, some who had participated in it, all now staring at me with various degrees of fear and resentment. I presented the restructuring plan calmly and professionally. 70% of current employees would keep their positions. We would honor all contracts and benefits. But leadership needed change. Effective immediately, I will serve as CEO of Zenith Retail Group. Marcus Hayes' position is terminated, along with 3 other C-suite executives who contributed to the company's decline. Chioma raised her hand. What about the rest of us? I met her eyes. If you can prove your value and loyalty to this company's future rather than to failed leadership, you'll have opportunities to grow. If not, there's the door. She nodded slowly. Marcus wasn't even present. He had been informed via legal courier that morning. The news broke publicly on Tuesday. Business media ran with it. Mystery heiress takes over struggling retailer. Titan Holdings Amara Okafor stages dramatic boardroom coup. My phone exploded with interview requests, congratulations from old colleagues, and hate messages from Marcus's supporters. I ignored all of it and focused on work. Zenith needed immediate attention. We were bleeding money in 3 departments, our supply chain was a disaster, and employee morale was at rock bottom. I spent that first week meeting with every department head, listening to their concerns, understanding what Marcus had broken. The picture that emerged was damning. He had prioritized appearance over substance, spending millions on flashy campaigns while ignoring operational problems. He had silenced dissent, pushed out talented people who questioned him, and surrounded himself with yes-men. Now I had to fix it. But first, Marcus needed to be dealt with completely. Marcus refused to leave quietly. His lawyer sent threatening letters claiming wrongful termination, demanding massive severance, threatening to expose company secrets. My legal team responded with documentation of every decision Marcus had made that violated his fiduciary duty. Every expense report where he used company money for personal luxuries. Every instance where he retaliated against employees who challenged him. The evidence was overwhelming. His lawyer stopped responding. But Marcus himself started a whisper campaign. He told anyone who would listen that I had seduced my way into ownership, that my father's company was built on corruption, that I was incompetent and vindictive. Some people believed him. Enough that by Friday, I was getting questions from business journalists. Ms. Okafor, how do you respond to allegations that this acquisition was motivated by personal revenge rather than business strategy? I smiled at the reporter. Check Zenith's stock price. It's up 18% since the announcement. The market doesn't care about Marcus Hayes' feelings. But Marcus wasn't done. 2 weeks after the acquisition, a scandal broke. Someone leaked internal documents to the press claiming Titan Holdings had engaged in illegal accounting practices. The documents looked legitimate, with my father's signature on several. Financial regulators started asking questions. Our stock dropped. Business partners got nervous. I knew immediately who was behind it. Marcus had somehow gotten access to old files and doctored them. Uncle Tund called an emergency meeting. This is serious, Amara. Even fake accusations can destroy companies. We need to respond aggressively. I agreed, but I also knew something Marcus didn't. My father had been meticulous about documentation. Every transaction, every decision, every signature had backups and witnesses. We spent 72 hours gathering proof that the leaked documents were forgeries. Timestamps didn't match. Signatures were digital copies poorly altered. File metadata showed they were created recently, not years ago, when they were supposedly signed. We handed everything to authorities. This is getting intense. Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow Amara's journey to the very end. The investigation moved quickly. Within a week, authorities traced the forged documents back to Marcus's personal computer. He had been sloppy, overconfident, desperate. They arrested him on a Thursday morning at his golf club, in front of his wealthy friends, cameras capturing everything. The video went viral. Marcus Hayes, former CEO, handcuffed and shouting about injustice while being led to a police car. The charges were serious: fraud, forgery, attempted corporate sabotage. Each carried potential prison time. His lawyer tried negotiating, but prosecutors weren't interested. They had ironclad evidence. Marcus's trial date was set for 3 months out. In the meantime, he was released on bail, but his reputation was destroyed. Companies he had consulted for distanced themselves. His country club membership was revoked. Former friends stopped taking his calls. I watched it all unfold with no satisfaction, only sadness. He had done this to himself. While Marcus's legal troubles consumed media attention, I focused on rebuilding Zenith. The work was exhausting but exhilarating. I promoted talented people Marcus had suppressed, including Folake, a brilliant logistics manager who had been stuck in a junior role for 5 years because she once disagreed with Marcus in a meeting. "Why me?" she asked when I offered her a VP position. "Because you're excellent at your job and you're not afraid to speak truth to power." That's exactly what I need. Within 2 months, we restructured supply chains, cut wasteful spending, and launched 3 new product lines. Employee satisfaction scores jumped 40%. Customers noticed the difference. Sales started climbing. By month 4, Zenith was profitable again. The board that had once watched Marcus humiliate me now praised my vision. Chioma apologized privately. "I should have stood up for you that day. I was scared, but that's no excuse." I accepted her apology, but kept her at arm's length. Trust had to be rebuilt slowly. Marcus's trial was a spectacle. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence. The forged documents, the metadata, testimony from IT experts showing how he accessed and altered files. His defense tried claiming he was framed, that I had manufactured evidence because of a personal vendetta. The jury didn't believe it. How could I have planted files on his personal computer? How could I have forced him to access Titan Holdings' confidential servers? The prosecution's star witness was Marcus's own former assistant, who testified that he had asked her to help him find dirt on me and my father. She had refused and quit, but she had kept records of his requests. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing would come later, but Marcus faced up to 15 years in prison. When the verdict was read, he turned and looked directly at me in the gallery. I met his eyes calmly.
No triumph, no glé.
Just quiet acknowledgement that actions have consequences. The day of Marcus's sentencing, I almost didn't go. Uncle Tund convinced me I should. "You need to see this chapter closed completely," he said. The courtroom was less crowded than during the trial. Marcus's family sat on one side, his elderly mother crying softly. I felt a pang of sympathy for her. She hadn't done anything wrong. The judge reviewed the case, noting Marcus's lack of remorse, his attempts to destroy a legitimate business out of spite, his abuse of power throughout his career. "You had everything," the judge said. "Respect, success, opportunity. You threw it away because you couldn't accept that someone you viewed as beneath you was actually your superior." Marcus was sentenced to 8 years in prison, with possibility of parole after 5. As they led him away, he looked smaller somehow, diminished. The man who had seemed so powerful 6 months ago was now just a middle-aged criminal in an ill-fitting suit. I walked out into bright afternoon sunlight feeling lighter than I had in years. 6 months after taking over as CEO, I stood in the same conference room where Marcus had humiliated me. The same executives sat around the same table. But everything else had changed. Our quarterly results, I began, pulling up the presentation, show 32% revenue growth and 41% profit increase compared to this time last year. The room erupted in applause. These same people who had sat silent while Marcus destroyed me now celebrated my success. I didn't forget that, but I also understood human nature. People follow power and success. I had both now. After the meeting, the board chair approached me privately. "Amara, I owe you an apology. We should have stopped Marcus that day. We should have protected you." I nodded. "Yes, you should have. But I'm grateful you didn't." He looked confused. "Grateful?" "If you had stopped him, I might have stayed comfortable in my small role. I wouldn't have revealed who I really was. Sometimes the worst moments push us to become who we were meant to be." My mother called that evening, pride evident in her voice. "Your father would be so proud, Amara. You honored his legacy by doing it your way." I thought about that. My father had built an empire through patience and strategy. He had taught me to never reveal my full hand until the perfect moment. But he had also taught me something else. Power without purpose is just ego. Always remember why you're doing this. Why was I doing this? Revenge had motivated me initially. I couldn't deny that. Marcus's cruelty had triggered everything. But as I rebuilt Zenith, as I saw employees flourish and customers return, I realized my purpose was bigger than revenge. I wanted to build something lasting, something good. I wanted to prove that leadership wasn't about dominance and fear. It was about vision, integrity, and lifting others up. Marcus had led through intimidation. I would lead through inspiration. That became my mission. We're approaching the climax of this incredible journey. Stay with us by subscribing now. A year after the acquisition, Zenith Retail Group was unrecognizable. I could show them that talent and integrity ultimately triumph over politics and cruelty. 2 years after taking Marcus's seat, I stood before a women's business conference sharing my story. Not for revenge or publicity, but because young women needed to hear it. The day Marcus Hayes told me I didn't belong in the boardroom, I said, looking out at 500 faces, he thought he was ending my career. Instead, he lit a fire that led me to claim my true power. I talked about the importance of knowing your worth, of strategic patience, of building real skills rather than just playing politics. Some of you have experienced similar moments. I continued. Someone told you that you're not enough, that you don't belong, that you should accept less. Those moments are gifts. They show you exactly who doesn't deserve your energy and exactly what you need to prove, not to them, but to yourself. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, dozens of young women lined up to talk to me, to share their stories, to ask advice. Each conversation reminded me why this mattered. 3 years in, Zenith had tripled in value. We employed over 2,000 people, had expanded internationally, and pioneered new sustainability practices in retail. I had built the executive team I always dreamed of, diverse, talented, collaborative. Chioma was now my chief strategy officer. She had proven her loyalty and capability repeatedly. One evening, we worked late preparing for a major investor presentation. "Can I ask you something?" she said suddenly. "Did you plan all of this from the beginning? Taking over Zenith?" I considered the question. Honestly,
No.
I planned to learn and grow, and eventually reveal my ownership of Titan Holdings. But I thought I'd do it on my timeline, my terms. Marcus forced my hand. "So, in a way, he helped you?" I laughed. "That's generous." But yes, his cruelty accelerated my timeline. I might have hidden for years otherwise, too comfortable being underestimated. And now I'm exactly where I belong. I heard through business contacts that Marcus was released early for good behavior after serving 4 years. He moved to a different city, took a job in a friend's small consulting firm, and kept a low profile. Part of me wondered if I should feel more satisfaction about his downfall. But I mostly felt nothing. He was irrelevant to my life now. The hatred and anger I carried for months after his betrayal had transformed into indifference. That felt like the truest victory. He didn't occupy space in my mind anymore. I had built something real and lasting. Zenith was thriving. Titan Holdings had expanded into new sectors. I had mentored countless young professionals. My father's legacy lived on, amplified. Marcus was just a footnote in my story now, an obstacle I had overcome on the way to something greater. Sometimes people asked if I regretted how things unfolded. Would I have preferred to rise without the pain and humiliation? Honestly,
No.
the struggle made me sharper, stronger, wiser. Easy success teaches you nothing. 5 years after Marcus told me I didn't belong in the boardroom, I sat in my corner office, looking out at the city's skyline. The walls displayed photos of our team, our achievements, our community impact projects. Not a single award or trophy. Those were stored away. What mattered was the work, not the recognition. My assistant buzzed. "Ms. Okafor, the leadership development cohort is here for their mentorship session." I smiled. This was my favorite part of the job. 20 young professionals, mostly women and minorities, who I was personally training for leadership roles. We met monthly to discuss strategy, challenges, and growth. As they filed in, eager and nervous, I saw my younger self in their faces. Hungry to prove themselves, scared of being dismissed, determined to matter. "Welcome," I said. "Today I want to talk about a moment that changed my career. The day someone told me I didn't belong." They leaned forward, ready to listen. And I began. I never thought the man I respected most would be the one to destroy me.